I'm Joy Morris, inviting you to listen to True Stories of the Wild West, hosted by C.R. King, a production of RK Enterprises.
Hello, everybody. C.R. King here. Today we're going to talk about something that happened in 1908 in the city of Los Angeles. Now, LA was a wild town. It was like any other Western town. But we don't talk about Los Angeles as a wild town. We'd more talk about Tombstone territory, Dodge City, places like that. In 1908, the chief of police, he was an acting chief of police. His name was Walter Auble, A-U-B-L-E. He was a good man, well liked, respected. He was the captain of police, and he was promoted as acting chief for a while. And he was put back down as captain of the police, second in charge. His best friend was Captain Flammers. Now, Flammers, in 1906, was appointed chief of detectives. Flammers was the man who hired Arthur Moore King as a policeman and then later as a bounty hunter for the Los Angeles police. He also hired Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp, age 60, 62 actually. Arthur Moore King, age 25, became partners, bounty hunters, working in Sub Rosa for the LAPD. But getting back to the man. Two men they determined were criminals. They would break into different homes and what have you, steal money, steal goods, sell it off. The normal stuff. One man, his name was Carl Sutherland. Now, by chance, and the other man, his partner, was Fred Horning. And it was the landlady that tipped the police about these two men. My focus is on Carl Sutherland, Wyatt Earp's first wife. Carl was his nephew by his first marriage. Now, he knew each other. Whether or not they stayed in touch, who knows? I have no idea. So, Mr. Flammers, Captain Flammers and Auble were on the streets, walking somewhere, when they saw the two men they were looking for earlier, mayor of Los Angeles. He was crooked. He had Arthur Moore be his bag man. They had sex parties, gambling, houses of prostitution, saloons. They all had to pay him through others as protection money. So in 1909, Los Angeles Herald came to Arthur. They had done their research. They laid out everything that he had done. And they gave him a choice. Resign or we will publish. Within the hour, Mayor Harper wrote a letter of resignation. Now, I mentioned that Flammers was the captain of detectives and Auble was the chief, acting chief. When all this went down with Captain Auble dying, a man was appointed as the chief of police, was Edward Kern. He had no experience whatsoever as a policeman. He was actually the head of the Teamsters Union. Yes, the Teamsters Union, and a former city councilman. And he was just as crooked as the mayor. And together with the new assistant policeman and a DA that followed them, they participated in the profits of charging protection money. Now, Arthur Moore never accepted the money. He was never given a choice. He just delivered. He did what he was told. for the mayor, who was the boss of the police department, obviously. Anyway, so there was a fight. Flammers got his man Horning down, handcuffed him. But Auble had problems with Sutherland. Sutherland shot him 3 times, killed him. And in the process of the fight, he himself was wounded in the arm. Carl Sutherland turned and ran. Captain Auble, now the former chief of police, died that day, surrounded by his family and his close friend, Paul Flammers. They're going to go out, they're going to find this man. And they did. The police knew where Carl lived. They surrounded his building. He wrote a letter to his wife, came downstairs. He dropped his gun, and with a vial of liquid in his other hand, he drank it quickly. Potassium cyanide. He dropped. He died right away on the way to the hospital, and that was it. So moving back to Mr. Flammers, or should I say Captain Flammers, and now the deceased Auble. The mayor of Los Angeles, Mayor Harper, was free to hire a new chief of police, and he did. His name? Kern, Edward Kern. He had no police experience. He was the head of the Teamsters, a former city councilman. He was politically connected, and he was as crooked as Harper. The DA of the city followed suit, and others. So, in 1909, the L.A. Herald went to Harper, laid out all of the evidence that they had on him, and they told him, you resign or we will publish. Within the hour, he resigned. When he was pushed out, that freed the people to get rid of the others, and they all were terminated, including Arthur Kingmore, who was a bank man. He collected the protection money from the saloons and the gambling houses and the houses of ill recruited, even from the individual prostitutes. And every time he would deliver a bag of money to somebody at the footsteps of City Hall, he was out. Now, Captain Flammers, who approved of the hiring of Arthur Moore, brought Arthur back about 3 months later and offered him the job as a private policeman, today's term, bounty hunter, working for the LAPD very quietly and making good money. His job was to go after the criminals that escaped wherever they went, capture them, and bring them back alive. Alive. He had to work with another man, an older man, a frontier man. He would be this man's deputy, he was told. And that was Wyatt Earps, age 62. Arthur was 25. And together, they went all over. And they captured many a men, and they brought them all back alive. Well, there's more to that story, and if you want to know about it, then I suggest you read The Last Deputy by C.R. King. It's in novel form. It's all true, except for maybe the dialogue. But what the hey. So, I think at this point, the story of Carl Sutherland, who was actually Wyatt Earps' nephew by his first marriage, and Carl Sutherland, the criminal who killed the highest-ranking officer in the LAPD history, to date is over. Sutherland died. The chief of police died. The story ended. Take care, everybody. There's more to come. Hopefully soon, a big story. I don't think you'll like it very much. I'll announce it a week ahead of time. Take care, and thank you. Bye-bye. And be safe.
Stay tuned for next week's tale.